First, install the OrgLimit Monitor package. On the installation screen, select Correct User Group and confirm the install. Once the installation is complete, go back to the org and open the OrgLimit Monitor application. Right now, we don't have any limits selected for monitoring, so going to configure a few. For example, I'll create an alert for the single email limit. If my single email usage goes beyond 50% of my daily limit, I want to receive an alert. Next, I'll configure another alert for the daily API limit. In this example, if my daily API usage goes above 70%, I should get an email notification. I'll save these thresholds. At any time, we can edit these thresholds, change the values, or deactivate an alert if we no longer want to monitor that limit. To make sure users can receive email alerts, we need to update the user page layout. We've added a custom checkbox field called Receive OrgLimit Alert. Add this field to the user layout, save the layout, and then enable this checkbox for any user who should receive alerts. Any user with this checkbox enabled will receive an email when a monitored limit crosses its threshold, and receive a daily email summary of the monitored limits. So, to recap the setup. Step 1. Enable the org limits you want to monitor and define their thresholds. Step 2. Enable the users who should receive alerts by checking Receive OrgLimit Alert on their user record. Step 3. Schedule the batch job so the system can check the limits, monitor them, and send alerts to enabled users. Now let's schedule the batch jobs. From the developer console, I'm going to schedule the daily job. This job will run once per day based on the org's time zone and will check all org limits. In the scheduler, I set it up as a daily batch. The isDaily flag is set to true. Choose the time and save the schedule. Next, I schedule the hourly job. This job is configured as an hourly batch. isDaily is set to false. I'm setting it to run every hour, but you can also run it every 15 minutes if you need more frequent checks. The hourly job focuses on limits that are enabled for monitoring and detecting sudden spikes in usage. Once both jobs are scheduled, you can see them under Scheduled Jobs. The daily batch is scheduled to run at 3 p.m. Eastern. The hourly job runs every hour, or at whatever frequency you've set. Every time either batch runs, it creates records in the Organization Limit History object. The daily job captures all org limits, whether or not they are enabled for monitoring. The hourly job focuses on the monitored limits and drives the spike alerts. We've built multiple reports and dashboards on top of the Organization Limit History object. To grant access to any user, you can share the report folder with them. They can then run the dashboard to see trends over time. This helps you understand the trend of limit consumption in your org and act before you hit hard Salesforce limits. You can also modify these reports and dashboards as needed. When the daily job runs, it sends an email summary like this. The monitored limits with configured thresholds are highlighted at the top. All other org limits are listed below for reference. All of this information is saved in the History object for tracking and auditing. Now let's talk about the spike alert. The spike alert is driven by the hourly job. Each time the hourly job runs, it compares the current usage with the previous run. If it detects a 10% or greater jump in the daily usage of any limit, it sends a spike alert email. That email clearly shows which limit had the spike and the difference between the previous run and the current run. This helps you quickly identify abnormal usage patterns. Next, threshold email alert. It sent an email only when monitored limits cross their configured threshold. For example, for the single email limit, If the threshold is set to 1% for testing, and the current usage is 6%, you will receive an alert. If the threshold is set to 80% and the usage is only 6%, you will not receive an alert. That is the complete end-to-end flow of the OrgLimit Monitor app. Install the package, configure limits and thresholds, enable users, schedule the daily and hourly jobs, and use emails, reports, and dashboards to proactively monitor your Salesforce OrgLimits.